Hey everyone, today I am going to be doing a review of the Primary Arms Advanced Microdots. This is a long overdue video. I have 3 of these things, all of which I paid full price for. I have had my first one for about 4 years now, and I've been doing a ton of testing. I easily have over 3,000 to 4,000 rounds across all 3 of them. You've seen them in a ton of other videos, but there has been something that was lacking in my testing that I didn't quite feel adequate in reviewing it yet. And the thing that was missing was being able to test it on something with a very, very harsh recoil. Shot it on 5.56, 300 blackout, 7.62x39. But now that I'm reviewing, working on a review at least, of the Century C39, it allows me to do some testing on a 308 and probably one of the most violently recoiling 308s on the market. This one I probably have about 100 rounds through with this red dot. But let's go ahead, dump a quick mag down range. Got some 150 grain Fiocchi ammo, just to kind of test some more of the durability. But then after that, we'll go ahead and talk about some of this. Little fly landed on my hand. Talk about the specifics of these optics, how I have them set up on all my other rifles, and hopefully give you some information to let you decide if one of these dots is right for you. But enough talking. Let's go ahead and have some fun. Oh no! My first malfunction with this gun, and it was on camera for another video. Alright, I'm gonna go check that casing, but you'll learn more in my review video of the C308 here. But dot's still on, so let's go ahead, bring it in closer, talk about the specifics on this thing. What I want to do before I go too deep down the rabbit hole is on this side of the screen put some of the specs of this little red dot here. A whole lot of numbers that I know most people don't care about and I don't want to repeat. So if you want to pause the video and take a look at those, absolutely feel free to do that. But I'm just going to hit some of the ones that I think are important. First of all, this is different from the first generation of red dots that Primary Arms had, at least labeled with their name. These, I think, are a significant step up from those. However, if I remember correctly, when I was at SHOT Show, they said there was going to be a newer gen coming soon. So I don't know how long this video is going to be relevant, but in the meantime, this is pretty much the current generation of plain red dots that Primary Arms is selling. You may think, if you have a very astute eyesight, that it looks very similar to some other red dots on the market, and you are not incorrect. It looks very similar to the Aimpoint line of microdots, which to me is a good thing. If you're going to model your red dot after something, you might as well pick something that works really well, like the Aimpoint H1, T1, all those seem to. This shares a lot of features with those, while coming in at a significantly lower price point, which is something that I'm going to harp on a lot later when I talk about the value of these things and kind of my overall opinions on them. But one of the nice things about those similarities is it has the same bolt pattern for any mount as those. So right here I have an ADM, or American Defense Manufacturing, riser mount. It will do absolute co-witness with my irons here. These ones are Aero Precision flip-up iron sights. I like absolute co-witness when I can get it, at least on ARs, so that works out really well for me. Plus it's a quick disconnect, so if I ever have to take it off in a hurry, I can. But that's, quick disconnect mounts are a topic for a whole nother video. Anyway, moving on. It is just a regular plain dot. It is a 2 MOA dot, which for me is the perfect size for a standard red dot. You can go from like the EOTech, which has the 1 MOA dot with a 65 MOA ring, which I think works well. But when you're going to just a straight up single dot, I think 2 MOA is perfect. I've shot ones with 3 and 4 MOA dots. Not a fan at all. To me, it's too big, to the point where I lose precise aiming at longer ranges. And with this, if it's not big enough for you, you can bump up the brightness, but I've never been in a situation where I thought 2 MOA wasn't big enough. You do have plenty of brightness settings, to the point where you know, today is a nice sunny day. I have never been to the point where I couldn't get my dot bright enough to see it on a nice sunny day out in the sun. And then it does also have 2 night vision settings. So if you bump it all the way down, it will work with night vision. Not saying that this will actually look like night vision, for those of you who are not familiar with that. It just means that it will be invisible to the naked eye, but with a night vision optic behind it, it will pick up that dot, and so you can actually see it with your night vision on, for any of you running that, which is probably very, very few of you, myself included, at least for the time being. As far as the brightness adjustments, you have a little plus and minus on top of the optic there. It's not like a rheostat or anything like that. You just dial it up. You just keep kind of touching it, or I think you can hold it. I always just touch it to get it brighter or dimmer. I usually leave it around the middle setting, and again, it's going to work almost all the time. Unless I have to go out in a really bright sun, then I'm probably going to want to bump it up a couple. But good adjustment. And if you do want to turn it off, all you got to do is, I believe, hold down both of them. But again, that's not something I do because of the battery life. So let me go ahead and talk about that. It does take one 2032 battery, which is nice because, again, that's pretty much standard for the microdots on the market, and they're very readily accessible. You know, you can get them at Walmart even. I think even the general market down over here by the range has 2032s, so they're not unobtainium, which is nice. And with that, they advertise you get 50,000 hours of battery life, which, for those of you who want to do the math, is over 5 years. I haven't experienced that personally, but again, I leave it on a brighter setting than they probably do for that grading. But in my experience, as long as you change out the battery every 6 months to a year, you're fine. Usually once I start pushing that year is when they start dying on me. But really just, you know, change it on your birthday and you're good to go. At least you should be good to go. Again, your results may vary, but that's been pretty much the standard across all 3 of mine here. So with that, let me go ahead and show you kind of how I have them set up. I already kind of went over this one. ADM mount. This was the very, very first advanced microdot that I bought. Originally, it was on my BCM rifle, which if you watch my BCM rifle review, you will see this exact red dot on that with this same mount. This is the one that I've had the longest. I've run it through multiple classes, again, in rain, sleet, snow, every imaginable weather condition other than, like, you know, a hurricane or anything like that. It's held up fantastically well. If you watch the video that I did on the American Rifleman course with Spartan Training Concepts, this was the setup that I ran in that class with this red dot. 1,200 rounds through a very intense class, and it held up perfectly well. The second dot I got was for my Arsenal SLR 107 here. I have it set up on an Ultimac rail system, which is something I like because I can actually get pretty much a lower third co-witness with my iron sights, which is nice, especially since I don't have a quick disconnect mount for this one yet. Something I'm planning on doing, but not something I'm in a super hurry to do. But it's been working really, really well on here. I have well over 1,000 rounds with this dot on this AK. Again, 0 issues whatsoever. As a side note, one thing I did notice is when I first mounted this to this gun, I had it a little bit further, pretty much as far back as you could get it on the Ultimac rail. But because Ultimacs are sized to be able to fit across a wide variety of AKs, yeah, they do have different models for different general models of AK, but there's obviously a little slop on all of them because there has to be. I had a little bit of space between the Ultimac and the this little sight block here, and because of that, I did get some gas venting out of there, and it would obscure the dot, or really the rear objective here. So I moved it up a couple spots, and it hasn't been an issue ever since. And I can say I've gotten this gun really, really hot, as you may be able to tell from the discoloration up here in the front. But that dot has held up just fine to the heat. And again, really, really like this setup. It's been working out really well. And previous to putting it on the C308, this was the most aggressively recoiling rifle, which isn't saying much because they're not very aggressive, but the most aggressively recoiling rifle that I'd had this red dot on. Then I bought my third one. And also FYI, the one that is on my AR SBR here was also on my 300 blackout for a long period of time. So if you ever saw videos of my 300 blackout with a red dot, it was that one. This one I bought, if you recognize the paint job, originally for my Century RAS 47, which I have long since sold for various reasons. Didn't have too many issues with mine, but I just saw too many to feel comfortable with it. And it's just kind of been hanging out, not really doing a whole lot with it. I'd actually had it in its box sitting on my shelf for probably 9 months after I took it off my RAS and didn't really have anything I needed to put a red dot on right away. So then when I bought the C308, I wanted an optic to put on it because I didn't have a sight adjustment tool yet for this thing. Still don't need to get one of those. Took it out of the box, the dot was still running just fine. So for what that's worth. And now I have it through about 120 rounds with that mag that I dumped at the beginning of the video. And this thing, again, it's not terrible recoil. It doesn't hurt to shoot or anything crazy like that. But it is easily the most violently recoiling gun that I own, at least that's semi-automatic. And it's been handling it just fine. Now, I can't speak to it lasting thousands of rounds on a very aggressively recoiling gun, but with my experience so far, I think that I am comfortable in saying it should hold up just fine. Also, as a side note, if anyone is interested in mounting them on an AK and you don't have one of these Ultimac rails up here, but you have one of the built-in scope rails on the side of your receiver, one thing that I would recommend getting are these railed sections from Midwest Industries. They make a ton of different mounting setups for them, and the thing I like about these is if you don't want a full-on 1913 rail, you just take out these screws here. The quick disconnect part stays on. You take this off, and then you can pretty much get any optic-specific one you want, at least as far as rings and all that. They may already have like a T1 style base for this, which would keep it even lower. But having the quick disconnect and the return to zero ability that I've had with all my Midwest Industries scope mounts, this is the way I would go. Plus, it probably looks pretty hefty on camera, but this thing is surprisingly light. So just as a side note, if you're looking for ways to mount a red dot to your AK. So I know some of you are probably wondering, well, you know, how accurate can you be with a red dot on a rifle? Personally, just again from my own personal experience, I have shot that 240-yard gong over there on that 200-yard range behind the camera, well behind the camera, with both this SLR and with I think when it was still on the BCM, I was able to hit that steel gong at 240 yards with the red dots. So you can, depending on the shooter's capability and your rifle's capability, it's definitely easy. I'm not going to say easy, but it's definitely possible to engage targets at 300, 400, 500 yards, still with some level of accuracy. Now, that said, as you know, I've switched on my BCM rifle to a 1-6, just because even though I can engage targets at longer ranges with these red dots, I like to also be able to potentially identify targets and may be able to make out a little bit more of specifics and have, again, more precision at those longer ranges, which is why on those I have switched to 1-6. However, on these guns that I think are more geared towards being up close and personal, or just kind of more fun shooting, you know, a red dot is just fine. Again, if you have to push it out further, definitely capable of doing it. And again, that's where that 2 MOA dot comes in handy. When you get into the 3, 4 MOA dots, like I have a Vortex Strike Fire, I had a really hard time being precise even at like 100 yards, getting nice tight groups at 100 yards because the dot was so big I had a hard time getting a consistent point of aim. To me, that's not an issue with the 2 MOA dots. Just again, my personal experience, totally subjective. Some of you may be able to rock a 4 MOA dot, no problem, but that's just my experience. If you want to see more about what these things can do accuracy-wise, you can watch my SLR 107 video, because again, this is the dot that's been on it. The one that was on the C308. You can watch the video I did on my RAS 47, and again, you can see the accuracy groups I got at 100 yards with that thing. But again, definitely easily capable of under 3 MOA pretty much all the time, as long as you have a good rest and all that, with one of these red dots. So definitely capable of doing that. For me personally, if I want better guaranteed precision than that, then that's when I have to start getting into the magnified optics. But my eyes suck, as you can probably tell from the fact that I wear glasses. Now at this point, what I want to go ahead and do is kind of give you my closing thoughts and my overall thoughts on these primary arms optics. If you guys have been following my channel, you know that I have a ton of primary arms optics. I think off the top of my head, I have like 8 of them. I have 3 of these advanced microdots, which I paid for myself. And then I have 2 of their 1:6s, one of their 5.56, one of their 300 blackout. I have a 4:14 first focal plane R-grid scope on my Savage 10 FCP, and then I have one of their 4:14 ECSS HUD reticles in 5.56 on my Aero Precision 18-inch 223 Wild rifle that I just built. And you guys will be seeing here on the channel shortly. So across all of those optics, I, again, conservatively have well over 5,000 rounds through those optics, most of which coming through these 3 red dots. And again, I have had 0 issues with reliability. I've had 0 issues with them clouding up on the inside. I've had 0 issues with parts breakages. Everything has run 100%. Now again, I don't get the advertised battery life. I usually get, again, just over a year out of a battery, but honestly, that's not bad because I like just being able to leave a dot on a gun like this. You know, if I'm going on a road trip and I have a gun next to me in the vehicle, having that dot always on is a really nice thing. Just one less thing I have to worry about. So I really like that battery life there. So I know, I can't remember which video it was, but one of the rifle reviews I did where I had one, I think it was my BCM video. They're like, wow, you spent that much on a gun and then put such a cheap optic on it. And I can understand why someone who doesn't have experience with these optics might think something like that. You know, you get a $1,400, $1,500 rifle and then put an optic on it that's less than 200 bucks. But again, my own personal experience has been such that I trust these things implicitly. Now, if money was no object, would I buy something like an Aimpoint T1 or H1 or T2 H2? Probably, I guess, just because, you know, the name and the reputation is there. But for me, who's someone who I can't afford to put $600 optics on a whole bunch of different rifles, I have 0 hesitation in trusting my life to one of these primary arms advanced microdots. Again, with well over 3,000 rounds across my 3 primary arms optics, including going through classes. So I'm not just coming out here on a nice sunny afternoon and doing a little bit of plinking and then going home. These things have made it through classes with 0 complaints whatsoever. The only issue I had, I think, in the American Rifleman class was when it was raining. Raindrops were falling on the glass, which made it a little hard to see through. But that's going to be the case on any optic with glass on it. So definitely not the fault of this thing. And it didn't cloud up. The nitrogen purging works. It keeps that moisture out. So again, that's the nice thing, and that's why I believe in quick throw levers on a gun you're going to trust your life to also, because if you get mud or whatever on your optic, it's good to take that off so you have your backup irons. But again, all that to say that I have no hesitation trusting my life to these optics, because again, I have put these things through the ringer and they have come out, just as strong as when I first took them out of the box. And if you may be able to take a closer look at this optic here, and you can see it's been dinged up. It's got scrapes. There's a lot of shiny areas from it being banged up against other things. A lot of that was painted over when I painted this rifle, and since then it's gotten a whole bunch of other dings on it. So again, these things are not babied. And it just keeps taking everything I can give it, which is a really comforting thing on a setup like this. Now, I know that there are a lot of other competitors in this price range, none of which I have any experience with, just to be totally honest with you, like Hollow Sun, and there's other ones that come in at a similar price range and even look very similar to these. But I can tell you right now, anytime someone has asked me about getting a red dot for a rifle, the first thing I point them at is one of these. And honestly, even if you can afford $600, $700 for an aim point, I just really don't see any reason on spending more than $200 when you can get one of these for, I think they're like $180 if I remember correctly. Hence why I've bought 3 of them and put them all on rifles that I have at one point or another trusted my life to. Not really with the RES or the C308 yet, but with both the Arsenal and this SBR here, the BCM before it, and the 300 Blackout before it. At some point it was in self-defense duty, you know, obviously not actually using it to protect myself, but it was staged, ready to go if something did happen. So again, I have zero reason to question the durability and reliability of these red dots. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I was really glad that I paid full retail price for these, because honestly, I think so highly of them that I could see how it might come off that I was paid for this review. But honestly, again, these are my genuine opinions that have been earned through years and years and years of faithful service on multiple different rifles, for me at least. Now, again, I know the first gen that they came out with, you know, they didn't have the removable base. I think it had a rheostat on the side to adjust the brightness. I had seen issues with those. I haven't seen issues with these. It may exist. It may be out there. I haven't come across it personally, but I also haven't been searching it out, just full disclosure. And I know that, again, they are coming out with the new ones. I know for a fact the new ones, well, when I say know for a fact, I'm pretty sure that the new ones are going to be covered under the same lifetime warranty that a lot of the new primary arms optics are. I don't know if the current production of these ones are covered under the lifetime warranty. I'll have a link to the product page below. So yeah, I'm sure it'll say there. You guys can check for yourself, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are covered under their lifetime warranty. But here's the deal with lifetime warranties. It's great. Lifetime warranties are awesome, but I'd rather have something that I don't have to use a warranty on. I have optics from other manufacturers who their big thing is, hey, we got a lifetime warranty, and that's a big selling point for a lot of people. But I've also had to use that warranty. These, at least this one here, is not currently under warranty, but I'm also probably never going to have to use a warranty or send it back or anything like that because it's so durable and so rugged. So again, lifetime warranties are great if you can get one, but I'd much rather have something that I don't need a lifetime warranty for, because the zombie apocalypse happens and you're out slaying bodies. Lifetime warranty is not going to do you a whole lot in that situation. But anyway, enough said on that. So if you guys have a rifle or any sort of gun that you want to put a red dot on and you're looking at these micro dots, I really think you owe it to yourself to look at one of these. If you don't like it, you can always resell it and then spend more money if you want to, but I can almost guarantee that's not going to be the situation, because again, I've had such a positive experience, and not just through one, but through 3 of them. And again, all of them have been painted over for what that's worth, and you know, no durability issues there. Obviously cover the glass before you paint them, but you know, no issues there. Again, rain, sleet, snow, heat, whatever, I haven't been able to kill one, and I would honestly be surprised if I do anytime soon. If you're interested in the other primary arms optics, I definitely have reviews on a couple of them already, and I will be doing some more here soon. I have a whole lot more shooting to do through one of them before I do my review on it, the 4-14 ACSS HUD on that 5.56 gun. I want to do a whole bunch more shooting on that before I do my review, as well as shoot that at like 600 yards just to see how the holdovers work and make sure everything's up to par there, which I expect it is. But you know, I just want to do a whole bunch more shooting before I do a review on that. But you know, really guys, I couldn't be happier with these. I really think it's a good option no matter what price level gun you're putting it on. You know, I got a Spikes SBR lower with a BCM upper, and I have zero shame putting a less than $200 red dot on it. I would do it again and again and again without any hesitation. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you feel so inclined, I do also have a Patreon as well. Do with that information what you will. But anyway, as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.